Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, music attorney Cassandra Spangler and I will be discussing some of the reasons why ChatGPT and other AI programs are not a substitute for an attorney. The information provided in this video is for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing legal advice. You should contact an attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular issue or problem. Hello, Cassandra.
Hi, Janae.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Happy summer.
Happy summer. It is, good Lord, almost
I
August.
know it flew by.
Always,
Yep. Yep.
always. So today we're going to talk about something that you came up with that I didn't even really think about. So we're going to talk about the fact that AI and ChatGPT and all those other things that go along with it is not, I repeat, not a replacement or what was the word you used?
Substitute.
Substitute. That's it. Not a substitute for an attorney. And how did I not think about the fact that people would do that? I guess because I wouldn't do that.
Right. Right.
So, talk to me. What is going on with that?
Yeah, so it's a question that's been popping up here and there, people asking, can I just use AI or ChatGPT to draft a contract? Or, they'll have ChatGPT draft a contract and say, can you take a look at this? It was drafted by ChatGPT. The short answer, and we'll get into the longer answer, but the short answer is ChatGPT AI is not a substitute for an attorney. You're putting yourself in a lot of risk if you choose to use ChatGPT as a substitute for an attorney. I would just say the first thing I would say, kind of overall, is if you're an artist or you're a producer, you're a songwriter, do you believe that ChatGPT or AI is a substitute for what you do? Do you think that AI can create the music that you create? And hopefully the answer to that is no, because I don't believe that it can. I don't think AI can create the same depth of music that humans can create. So if AI can't replace you, why would AI be able to replace an attorney? So that would be sort of the first just overall thing I would ask people to consider if they're thinking about, oh, maybe I can just have this contract drafted by ChatGPT. Would you ask ChatGPT to write a song for you? And if the answer is no, then probably not safe to have it write a contract for you either. But that's kind of the short answer. And then I have, 5 sort of bullet points about why ChatGPT is not a substitute for an attorney. First one being it's not always accurate. So, obviously human beings aren't always accurate either. Everybody makes mistakes, but ChatGPT and similar AI systems, they only rely or they only have access to whatever data has been fed to them, whatever they has been used to train them,
Right.
and they don't really have, any capacity to draw conclusions beyond that data. So sometimes this results in what they call hallucinations, where it actually spits out a false answer to you. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. The answer seems logical, it seems like it sounds right, but it's actually completely fabricated. So that's one thing you want to be really careful about. There's actually been attorneys who have gotten in trouble for this very same issue where, they've used ChatGPT to do research and it will give them the names of some case law, saying supporting whatever position, whatever argument they're trying to make. And then they file it with the court and come to find out those cases don't exist. But they sound
Wow.
real, it sounds like a real case. It sounds like so the same thing can happen with any topic. So if you're a musician and you're asking it a question, the answer it gives you may not be accurate. And so it's a little bit different than just a human kind of making a human mistake. It's actually false information. So you want to be very careful not to rely on legal advice that you're getting from ChatGPT because it may not be accurate. In fact, if you go to ChatGPT, there's a disclaimer on there that tells you it can make mistakes and that you should double check the information. I would hope that when you're hiring an attorney, they're not asking you to double check their work, because that's what you're paying them to do. So that would be my first point number one why ChatGPT is not a substitute for an attorney is because it's not always accurate.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it kind of, along with that same point, it has a tendency to just sort of reinforce or say what you want it to say. So if you ask it, is it okay if it has a tendency they've seen to just tell you, yes, that's okay for you to do such and such. It's kind of like you hear a lot in the music industry about certain artists having yes men or yes people around them
Yes.
who are saying yes to everything, and everyone's afraid to tell them, don't do that, that doesn't look good, that doesn't sound good, and then it results in bad things. ChatGPT is kind of like a yes man in that way. So you want to be very careful about relying on the information that it gives you. Second reason why ChatGPT is not a substitute for an attorney, it has no ethical obligation to you. So attorneys, part of the licensing requirements when you get licensed as an attorney, you take on certain ethical requirements. So a big one that most people probably have heard of is attorney-client privilege. So if you tell something to your attorney in confidence, with very, very limited exceptions, your attorney cannot reveal that information unless you permit them to. So if you, for example, go to an attorney and you say, I'm worried that I might have accidentally infringed on someone's copyright. I'm worried I released a song and I realized after the fact that it sounds very similar to a Beatles song and I didn't do it on purpose, but now I don't know what to do. Your attorney will give you advice and can't go and run to the Beatles estate and representatives and tell them, hey, my client infringed on your copyright. ChatGPT does not have that requirement, and in fact all the information that you are providing to ChatGPT is not protected at all. So that means it can use it to train itself, maybe reveal it to other people who ask a similar question. And it also means that if, God forbid, you end up in a lawsuit, all of that information that you typed into ChatGPT might end up being disclosed to the other side as part of that lawsuit. So, again, no attorney-client privilege with ChatGPT. And it also has no duty in terms of conflicts of interest. So an attorney is prohibited from doing something that could be considered a conflict of interest. For example, representing two people on different sides of a dispute, or doing something that is to the attorney's benefit but is bad for their client. These are things that by law attorneys can't do. ChatGPT has no requirement to not do those things. So again, ChatGPT, no ethical obligations to you whatsoever, no privacy, no confidentiality. So that would be reason number two. I would say that it's not a substitute for an attorney.
I would have never thought of that. Ever. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't. You sort of assume that you're typing in this information and then it just maybe disappears or it goes nowhere after the fact, but it's stored somewhere, and it's accessible to who knows how many people and in what situations. So you have to be very careful about the information that you're disclosing to it. Third reason why ChatGPT is not a substitute for an attorney is that it lacks this sort of human element. It doesn't have, what we would call emotional intelligence. So when you go to a human being, to an attorney, they can understand not just the facts that you're presenting, but also these human elements, the emotional aspects that you might be dealing with, or financial considerations, time considerations, and they can help you weigh all of those consequences. Whereas ChatGPT is just going to spit out facts to you. It's not going to take into account, the fact that something maybe has sentimental value to you, or the fact that you're going through a lot in your life and then this thing happened. All of these things that humans can understand, ChatGPT cannot understand. And it also has no creativity. So if you're going to an attorney, some type of complex issue, sometimes you have to get a little creative in coming up with a solution. ChatGPT has no creativity. Again, it's limited to whatever data set has been used to train it, and it can't sort of make connections beyond that data. So, again, if you're consulting with an attorney, oftentimes there are things that you can tell by the person's demeanor or the tone of their voice beyond just the facts that they're giving you. And those are things that ChatGPT cannot pick up on. So I would say that's reason number 3 why ChatGPT is not a substitute for an attorney. It's not a human being, has no emotional intelligence. So that's also something to factor in. Reason number 4, attorneys have extensive training that they have to go through. So this includes, at least 7 years of higher education, 4 years of college, and 3 years of law school. You have to pass the bar exam. You have to then get admitted by the court as an attorney and get licensed. Typically, you then train under other attorneys who teach you, and then you go on to have experience. Every year you learn something new, more experience. ChatGPT has no licensing requirements, no education requirements, nothing like that. So again, it's giving you an answer just based on whatever data has been fed to it. And then the final one is just, attorneys can be held accountable. So I mentioned at the beginning, yes, human beings make mistakes as well. But if you have an attorney who makes a big enough mistake, there are things you can do. You can report it to the bar if they do something really bad. You can, look into malpractice claim. They can be held accountable if they do wrong by you in some way. ChatGPT has zero accountability. If it gives you a wrong answer, and this may cause disastrous complications for you if it drafts a contract for you and the contract turns out doesn't say what you wanted it to say and you gave up some rights or something, there's nothing you can do. There's no recourse that you have if ChatGPT makes a mistake or messes something up, whereas attorneys do have to be held accountable. So I would say that's reason number 5 why ChatGPT is not a substitute for an attorney.
All absolutely amazing reasons. And I actually didn't expect any of those things to be a reason. Oh my goodness gracious. It's a little disheartening to hear that some attorneys are actually
Using it.
using it.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe that's the weeding out process.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's always kind of obvious. I feel like a lot of people too now are using it like to draft emails, which is fine. And yes, it can sound professional, but I feel like it's always so obvious when somebody had ChatGPT draft an email for them or draft a contract for them. And so if you are doing that, if you're using it to draft emails, I would just caution everyone, double check it, because I can't tell you how many emails I've seen where there will be a prompt where someone's supposed to fill something in, right? It will say, dear, and then in brackets, fill in name. And they
Yes.
don't go through and fill these things in. So if you're using it to draft emails, at a bare minimum, go through and make sure that you have filled in all the information you need to fill in.
Yeah, I've seen it as well. Geez, I've been saying this forever. I just didn't realize that's what was going on until, well, not recently, but uh, news articles online
Mm.
drives me bananas.
Uh,
You can automatically tell that a human, not only did they not write it, but they certainly didn't edit it.
right.
I'm going, you're a
Right.
professional writer and this is what you wrote? I don't think
Right.
so.
Yeah, just copy and pasted without reading. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
but I just never imagined people would use it for contracts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is scary. So actually, wow. So that means on the other end, if you're receiving a contract, obviously you should read it, right? That is like golden rule number
Yes.
one. And you should give it to your attorney to to read it because I'm sorry, I know that you're a contract person, but they are boring and
Yes.
filled with things that you go, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it's almost like a foreign language sometimes.
So
Definitely, yeah.
you definitely want to have your attorney read it over, and if you read it and you don't chuckle and then you send it to your attorney and they send back laughing emojis, yeah, there's probably a clue that this was written by AI.
Yeah.
What do you do in that case if you get a contract? I mean, obviously you don't sign it, but if you get a contract and it's pretty obvious it's an AI contract, what do you recommend people do?
I would say, as you just mentioned, definitely have an attorney review it with you, because chances are there are things that are going to need to be added to it, things that ChatGPT missed, and maybe things that need to be changed. Make sure you understand everything in it, and also consider, it kind of depends on the context. If it's a contract between two individuals and the other person sent you something that they had ChatGPT draft, is one thing. But let's say this is a company calling themselves a record company and they want to sign you to some long-term deal, and they had ChatGPT draft their record contract. I would say, you want to be very careful maybe about doing business with that company, because it kind of tells you they're cutting corners, and maybe you don't want
Right.
to be locked into a long-term contract with them. So it's definitely something to consider.
Wow. And again, it affects every area. I mean, even in the world of voice acting, when I go on and look for auditions, I've gotten pretty good at being able to sort of read what the rights holder just says to you if they write you a note. And it's not that they're writing to me, but they're just putting it out there with the
Mm-hmm.
audition. And reading the audition, you can sort of tell. But then, of course, you do your research and you look up the author, and it's amazing what you find. And you go, oh my
Yeah.
God, this person isn't even real.
Yeah.
So the book is probably not real, or at least it was written by AI, right? So it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And I feel like every day it's, there's more and more of it. All these social media is just flooded with these AI generated photos, and again with voice acting. I mean, I can't stand those videos. You see them a lot on social media where it's like a robot voice narrating the
Yes.
video, and so
Yes.
it's like, that is not, to me, no replacement for a human. I'd much rather hear a human voice narrating, the video. I cannot stand the robot voice.
You and me both. When I hear it, I'm like, okay, I was interested in that topic, but I am not that interested in that
Yeah.
topic.
Exactly, exactly. And it kind of goes back to this, missing the human element, because the robot voice that narrates the video, a lot of times it speaks with a weird tone and a weird cadence that a human would not, it doesn't know which words to emphasize and that kind of thing. So it's, there's all these fears about AI replacing people, but I think we're still far from that, because I think there are a lot of things that humans can do that AI can't do.
Right. Or not as well, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And again, people are getting tired of
Yeah.
hearing these voices that are not
Yep.
real. And it's funny. They're getting good that you can't tell sometimes right away. But one of the giveaways is they'll maybe pronounce a name. I'll use my name, Janae, right? And they said it right. And I'm like, okay, this could be a real person. And then the next sentence, I'm Jean. And the next sentence I could be Jenny. And then, it's like it's trying to figure out what's the right
Yeah.
name or something. I don't understand that, but that cracks me up. And that's as soon as, if I'm fooled at all, as soon as I start hearing different ways of pronouncing the same name or word, I go, goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, that is something I hadn't even thought of. But at the same time, I kind of go, well, duh, right? I mean, of course people are going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I understand people have budgets and all of that, but you have to kind of really think of it as an investment. And, you get what you pay for, and ChatGPT is completely free. So at least right now, I'm sure at some point they'll start charging a subscription. But
Oh, maybe.
so, like I said at the beginning, if you're an artist or a producer or songwriter or some other type of creator, I'm sure you don't feel that ChatGPT can replace you or is a substitute for what you do. So, by the same reasoning, it should not be a substitute for your attorney.
Right, right. And it may take several people getting into some serious bad situations
Yeah.
before the alarm really starts to be heard by folks.
Yeah, because yeah, when as you mentioned, contracts are boring, which they are, but one word, you might change one word in a contract, and it might be the difference between, oh, you own this recording, and now one word is
Yeah,
changed, and you've just given the recording to the other person.
right, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else that we want to go over on this topic? I mean, I feel like you laid that out like really well, and
Thank you.
I don't know what else to possibly say about it. I mean, it's like this should be a wake up call for folks.
Yeah, yeah. So again, anybody out there considering it, hopefully this has sort of showed you some considerations that you should make and some risks that you would be taking if you choose to do that. So again, circling back to the short answer, is AI a substitute for an attorney? The answer is no.
Absolutely no. So, you know, by now they should know who you are. However, please tell us how we can reach you so that we can send you our boring contracts.
Sure. Yes. So the easiest way is my website. It's cspanglermusiclaw.com. And then from there, you can get, email address, phone number, social media, all of that other good stuff.
Excellent. And as usual, I will post that in the notes so that people can go there and be able to copy paste and get
Great.
right to you.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for obviously for being here as always, but for coming up with such an amazing topic that is going to give several people pause.
Thank you, Janae, for having me as always.
No problem. And we'll be back again soon, hopefully, with yet
Yes.
another topic. Excellent.